Hi, readers. This is lesson 8 for character studies. And before you go ahead and watch this lesson, make sure that you have listened to chapters 16 and 17 in Because of Winn-Dixie. We get to listen to some fun stuff about Miss Franny Block and litmus lozenges, which kind of makes me want to eat some candy. So hopefully you're enjoying Winn-Dixie and our story. So today what I wanted to talk about is our characters and the problems that they face. And we talked last time about how in a story, characters are going to face some pretty big problems. And as readers, we should expect that. But then also as readers, we need to start watching carefully and analyzing how our characters are responding to those problems. So what are the things they do when they have a problem? Because there's quite a few different ways to respond to problems, aren't there? So I thought we would practice with Opal. And I thought we would think about some of the challenges or problems that she's been facing, and then also think about how has she been responding to those problems. So I kind of made a list here of some of sort of the big problems that we know that Opal is facing. So we know that, one of the really big ones is that her mom is gone. And she doesn't know a whole lot about her mom. Her mom left when she was very little, and she doesn't really remember her. And that's kind of a big problem for her, isn't it? Another problem that Opal has is that her dad is kind of like a turtle, she calls him. That doesn't mean he looks like a turtle or he really is a turtle. It means that he just doesn't open up. When things get kind of hard, he tends to sort of almost like hide in his shell, and he doesn't really face them head on. And so even though she has lots of questions and wants to really talk to him, he doesn't always talk to her that much about it, right? And then another one of her big problems is that she's new in town and she doesn't have any friends. And we know, since we've gotten pretty far in the book, that she's definitely doing a lot to solve that problem, isn't she? And then finally, one of the big problems that I've been noticing about Opal is that those boys, the Dewberry boys, they tease her all the time. So let's think about how she responds to a couple of these problems. So what does she do? So let's think about this big one about her mom being gone. So think about, what does Opal do in response to her mom being gone? So let's think for a second. Does she just ignore it? No, not at all. Does she kind of face her problem head on and try to find out more information about it and really ask about it? Yeah, she really does, doesn't she? So let's think about how she reacts to these problems. So let's think. So could we say that Opal has really tried to respond to this problem of her mom being gone by asking a lot of questions and trying to solve the problem? Yeah, she kind of has, hasn't she? So I'm going to put over here. So I've got Opal's challenges here, and then I'm going to try to add some information about how she reacts. So to the fact that her mom is gone, let's say that she asks questions and tries to find out more. Right? So she really doesn't keep that inside her. She really is, actively trying to figure out, why did my mom leave? And is she ever going to come back? And what's going on here? And then let's go down to, so she really is trying to face that problem, isn't she? Let's go down to this bottom one about the Dewberry boys and their teasing. So let's think about that one. So do you feel like Opal is she really trying to respond to that one and fix that problem? What does she do when the Dewberry boys tease her? she teases him back, right? She calls him names. She kind of says not so nice things. She calls them bald-headed babies. So is she facing that problem? Not really, right? She's kind of just egging him on, and it's just sort of making the problem continue to be bad. Nothing is happening to fix the problem. So sometimes our characters don't always react to their problems in maybe the healthiest ways. So in this case, at this point in the story, Opal is not really facing her problem with the Dewberry Boys. She's just teasing them back and not really trying to solve the problem. So I'm going to say she teases them back and doesn't try to solve the problem. Okay, it's hard to write on this thing. It's kind of messy. Okay, so what I want us to do then, as we're reading our own chapter books, is I really want us to keep focusing in on those problems that our characters are facing. And I saw that you guys are doing a really good job with your story mountain, with thinking about like what those big problems were and how they tend to get bigger before they get better, right? And so I want you to not only think about what those problems are, but I want you to think about how is my character reacting to the problem, okay? And I was thinking about a couple different ways that people can react to problems, and there's more, but I thought I would write down a couple that I was thinking of. And so these are just some of the problem-solving strategies that I was thinking of. So sometimes we can ask a friend or maybe a family member for advice if we're having problems with something. So maybe some of your characters have done that. They go and they ask friends or family members for help. Sometimes when we come up against a problem, we just try to solve it on our own. We just try to face it and figure it out and just do what we can, right? And then sometimes, and this isn't always the healthiest way to solve a problem, but sometimes we tuck our trouble deep down inside and we just kind of try to ignore it. And unfortunately, that doesn't really help us with solving our problems, does it? It just kind of sits there and is kind of miserable. So sometimes characters solve their problems in all the same way. Sometimes they just do the same thing over and over again. So maybe you have a character who always asks for advice, or maybe you have a character who always tries to solve the problem on their own, or maybe they always tuck it deep down inside and don't really deal with their problem. But sometimes we also have characters who tend to deal with their problems in different ways, and that's when we really need to study that and try to figure out what's going on. Going back to like the idea of our characters sometimes act in ways that are the same over and over again, like a pattern. Sometimes they don't do that, do they? So if we look at some of the problems that Opal's been facing, sometimes she really faces her problems. She really tries her best to figure out, how can I solve this problem? It's really bothering me and I want to figure it out. Or sometimes she doesn't solve it in the best way. She just kind of makes it worse by, teasing back, or she just doesn't really face it in a very mature way. So today, as you're reading your book, I really want you to be thinking about, again, so what are those problems that my character is facing? And then I want you to think really carefully about how is my character reacting to their problems? Are they asking for help? Are they trying to solve it on their own? Are they tucking it deep down inside and not really dealing with it? Or what are they doing with their problem? Okay? And so today as we read, I'm going to have you fill out a document with your character, and I want you to pick a couple of the problems that your character's been facing, and then I want you to tell me how your character has reacted to that. Okay? All right. So, great job. When you're done with this video, remember I want you to read, and then I want you to try to, as you're reading, be thinking about what are those problems and how is my character responding to the problem? How do they act when they come up against a challenge or a problem? Okay? And make sure you fill out that document. All right, you guys, great job with your reading, and I'll see you next time. Bye.